Hi, Maz. How are you?
Hello, Sabina. I'm doing great. And you?
I'm wonderful. And welcome everyone to our next episode of Who Moved My Marketing. In the last couple of episodes, we have really been digging into kind of this transition of bringing AI into our organization. Kind of what is the impact of AI within marketing as a whole. So we've been seeing a lot of enterprises and a lot of companies kind of replacing marketing organizations with AI technology, and really kind of saying that, from a cost cutting perspective, that our teams can actually be more lean. The other episodes that we talked about really talked about more of how to bring AI and incorporate AI through the MarTech and how it's really helping our organizations be more efficient, be more effective, and really kind of putting the day-to-day tasks aside and having automation really take over that and really give us the opportunity to work on the strategy and really kind of getting that competitive edge, if you want to say, and differentiate ourselves. Today, what we really want to do is bring it all together and really talk about the transformational change that is happening with AI coming into our marketing strategies. And it truly is a transition. And I know, Maz, you have really been researching and listening to other experts in this field. So I really want to have you talk about kind of what are the experts saying? I think this is something that all of us marketing executives are really kind of, we're a little bit afraid of how this is going to come in. We're a little bit, you know, I would say unsure. It is a transition, it is a transformation. Anytime there's this kind of disruption in, our organizations, everybody's a little bit weary. But in order for us to get ahead, we do have to adopt and we do have to adapt to everything that's happening out here. So kind of, I just want to turn it over to you and kind of get an idea of what is it that you're hearing? What is it that you're reading about? Kind of what, bringing this all together. And, I know you've spent hours of doing this research and kind of like putting it all together. And I'm asking you to literally summarize everything in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, for
Perfect.
our podcast. But really want to hand this over to you and kind of get an idea of what is it that you're seeing that's out there.
Yeah, that's really a hot topic. I think a lot of experts and marketing leaders are really thinking about this transformation that's happening and the impact to their organizations and like you said, adopting and adapting to this new way of working. I think just looking at a lot of the thought leaders in the space and what's really happening, I think generally speaking, people are not talking about going out there and hiring a bunch of new people and then, you know, changing their organization in a very dramatic way, at least not yet. And so what I'm hearing mostly about is, these gradual approaches to making sure that, you're putting AI into the right perspective and enabling the people, the teams that are going to be working in the marketing organization or in the periphery of the marketing organization in a way that's much more effective than the traditional way of doing work. I think everybody pretty much agrees that instead of focusing solely on AI and the tools, you should really start thinking about what are the things that are the priorities of the marketing teams and the key activities that you do in the marketing organization, and how can AI help each of those kind of categories. Let's start with, for instance, product marketing. Your product marketing is responsible for messaging and positioning, competitive analysis, and AI tools can help with that. But again, I think at the end of the day, someone has to be able to sort of make the decision about what the company's positioning will be. And some of that is based on research that AI can help with. So, what are some of the other things? So, for instance, brand. and the capabilities there, go to market activities, team building, and campaigns. These are all different categories that marketing is responsible for. AI can help these categories at different levels. So, for instance, I think pretty much every expert agrees that when it comes to brand, AI is just not quite there yet. It's really just a tool to help with the image generation and the logo work, creating maybe guidance when you're thinking about the style guide, but it's not going to really take over the branding that you need to establish out there. That really, is an element that requires taste. It requires some subjective elements that, is sort of connecting to other humans. But, going down to, for instance, go to market and some
Mhm.
of the things that you can do in that area. Think about the overall structure of the marketing and when you're thinking about some of the capabilities, where can AI be injected into that process in a very effective way? So I just want to keep it at a high level. There are lots of details out there, but I definitely encourage people to start listening to some of the podcasts that are out there, and do read some of the research that's been done, and you'll see some patterns, some trends that are developing, which is I'm basically summarizing in less than 5 minutes here. But
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think in terms of some of the things if you've seen ways that AI can be brought into an organization?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because when you're always talking about some of this transformation, the benchmarks are not out there yet. So we don't really know. And, trying to come up with these best practices, I think we really need to come up with the data of how organizations have been incorporating AI today. And, in the last year, because I would say in the last year, year and a half is when this shift has started. I think initially a lot of people thought that this was going to be another buzzword. I remember having these conversations with other experts and saying, "Oh, well, AI is it's going to be just like ABX or it's ABM or it's going to be, you know, it's the new kind of buzzword that everybody needs to put on their website or everybody needs to." But I feel like this is different. I feel like this isn't just a buzzword. I think a lot of people started putting that on their website, not understanding what does AI actually do for their product, for their service, for, the organization, for the company. But I think people are starting to understand it, and you can see that a lot of the messaging that's out there is starting to actually come to life, and it's actually starting to make more sense. Didn't make sense for AI to just be thrown out and say, "Oh, our clothes have AI in it." That doesn't make any sense. But you couldn't be left behind and not putting AI on your website or AI on your product. I think we're going to see a lot of this refining and restructuring and redefining kind of what does AI actually mean for your organization. It's not just a buzzword that you're going to throw out there. I also feel like, you know, understanding the basics of what does AI actually mean, and it's about data. It's about data analytics. It's about finding patterns. It's about understanding kind of what does your organization do and understand what a part of those processes can be automated. We already have marketing automation, we have sales automation, but this is taking it to the next level. But with all that said, I don't believe that you can get away with just getting rid of your human element because this is data analytics on data that's been out there already. It's not anything new. So AI has not matured to that point where I could say, oh, I think that I can get a brand new marketing strategy that's never been done before through my AI, tools or resources that I have. I'm not going to go to ChatGPT and say, okay, here's my ICP, here's my messaging, here's my positioning, come up with a marketing strategy and then execute it, just like that. You still need to go in and say, do these channels make sense for me? is this where my competitors are, or is this beyond where my competitors are, or am I playing in a brand new sandbox that nobody's going to be there? So
Yeah.
if my target's not there and my audience is not there, why would I go play in that sandbox? I think that kind of strategy and understanding still is needed. And so I'm looking forward actually to seeing how does this all kind of come about. I think we're going to come up with new channels that we've never thought about, only because we're going to be able to merge and converge and understand and kind of create new things from the data that we're getting and finding the patterns that we have already. I'm excited. I think this is new and exciting, and I think it's great. I just don't know if we're there yet to say these are the best practices, because I think we're still collecting the data. We're still understanding kind of what the impact and what the consequences of what some of these early adopters have already kind of done, and understanding what works and what doesn't work. And it's going to be evolving. I don't think this is something that we can just put on textbook and say, this is how to incorporate AI into your organization and have kind of like a course on it. I just don't, I think it's going to consistently evolve just because of the way technology is evolving. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you said a lot of really meaningful, thoughts that I completely agree with. I think you're right. These things will change. We're not at the end, and we know that there's a transition, and so the idea is about adopting some of these changes and kind of preparing yourself for that end state that it will eventually come. Even that end state obviously is going to be always in transition, but at least you're preparing your team, your organization, yourself for what we know is coming. But you just brought up another concept that I was thinking about. You said that there's going to be new channels, and it's a really interesting concept because we talked about SEO versus AEO or GEO, depending on the definition, generated or generative engine optimization. And so, if you think about some of that, one of the things that's really becoming evident is that the emphasis on clicks as part of SEO is going away. The SEO is important still, that should not go away, but as you add sort of this new layer of AEO to it, then you need to have different metrics for that, things that we didn't measure before. It's not about clicks. It's not about click-through rates and things like that. It's about different ways of people identifying your brand and recognizing that you have a solution because you've been able to answer some of the questions that they've had, or they've put into a Gen engine and Gen AI engine and been able to answer that in a way that they think would help their problems. There's lots of examples of that is going to happen. We talked about a creative director, and what is the role of a creative director going forward? Well, yes, there's lots of AI tools that generate images and graphic. But unless you have a creative director that can actually understand your company's message and positioning and what fits, and some of the controversies that we hear right now about some things that have been done that are just to generate controversy but are not really in best interest of the health of the organization over the long term. I think that's why you need a human, someone that can actually help with that. And someone like a go-to-market engineer, maybe a brand new role that should be considered. But those are, sort of spots that you may need to bring, new roles in the organization. But again, it's all about transition. It's about enabling yourself to bring in new tools, or relying on maybe outside agencies to tell you about some tools that you're thinking about, but before you actually start implementing it, maybe you want to see how it works through an outside agency before you adopting it. These are a lot of different ideas that are out there, but I just want to throw that out there. I'm sure we're coming to an end again.
We are, we are. And, I think, like we've said before, these topics, we can just keep going on and on. And, Maz, you and I have actually had hours and hours of conversations just
Yes.
on this, trying to figure out,
Yep.
where do we go? What do we do? How do we incorporate this? What are your experiences? We would love for you guys to put in the comments or start conversations with us and your peers about what has worked for you. What are your thoughts? How is your organization actually incorporating AI today? What are your plans maybe for incorporating AI? Don't give us your secret sauce, but definitely, I think we're going to have to talk about this as a community in order to figure out what are the best practices, what does work, what does not work, and kind of go from there. But we are coming up on past 16 minutes, and so we are going to close it out. Thank you, Maz. We've had so much fun. And stay tuned because we will be incorporating AI and this topic into everything that we bring forward. But we will come up with another topic for you guys for the next session. So this is from us saying thank you for joining us for Who Moved My Marketing, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you all. And I'm looking forward to getting your questions. Take care.
Yes, take care.